What is going on, everybody? Welcome into Alarm Fantasy Football. I'm your host, Howard Bender, of course, joined by the always spectacular co-hosts. I got Britt Flynn. I got Andrew Cooper. And Andrew's Coop's fresh off of the Quick Out podcast here. So, Coop, something that we missed, and if somebody out there missed the Quick Out podcast, what'd you guys cover today?
Yeah, man, that's the thing, is that it's two different worlds, the Quick Out to here. I don't consider it even being live for this whole time. Two very different shows. The Quick Out, we are in the divisions. We did the NFC West today, and that show is just firing on all cylinders, under an hour, all the info, in and out, no nonsense. So that's what you get from that. Definitely check that puppy out. But this show, maybe a little more fun, maybe a little more nonsense. So it's a nice little break to come hang out with the gang. What's up, gang? How you doing?
I was going to say no nonsense from Andrew Cooper.
There's a little nonsense.
What is happening? Right, so I think that's a little misleading.
There's a little nonsense, but John makes sure to rein it in. That's what it is. He keeps it moving. That one, very highly informational show. This one as well, of course, but we have a little more fun. We get a little more we'll get the goofballs in the chat. So it's good times.
You got to have a little fun with it. Otherwise, then it's just, listen, what separates, if we're not entertaining, then, what separates us from the rest of the world out there. So I like the vibe that we got going on here. I think it's definitely, it's productive because you're entertained and you're learning all at the same time. I mean, how informative was that segment on the Arizona Cardinals in the NFC West? I could just imagine how.
I told John I made the mistake of doing the AFC South with you when you were filling in.
Oh, what a snooze fest that was.
Crushing them. I will tell you though, hey, those Cardinals, dude, that's the exact kind of ghost ship offense where you can find some deep sleepers, man. So anyway, we just did that episode. That's like that's available. No, they're out there. What about your boy Dortch, dude? The Hot Torch Dortch.
Torch.
Listen, I just said that he could be ahead in targets, not that I'm prioritizing him on a fantasy football team, okay? You're misconstruing my comments.
I'm just saying. That
5 targets is still better than 4. Is still better than 3. Is still better than 0.
James Conner, Hollywood Brown. They got guys named Hollywood. They got guys named Hot Torch. There's players out there in the desert. So just saying. But anyway, that's a totally different show. That one's available. You can even just listen to that one if you want. But we do the visuals and stuff if you want to check that out. That's available on Fantasy Alarm YouTube channel, where you guys are right now, smashing that like button, hitting the subscribe button, hanging out with me and Howard, and Britt, obviously.
Yeah, I'm just here.
Yeah, Britt's just, she's just hanging out.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
You Marshawn Lynching us today?
Where are your Skittles? You got Skittles?
No.
Oh, see? You can't. Now you're fine. That's it. Britt, $100. Put it in the Skittle jar.
I'm the only person who can get fined while at work. I
swear. Well, Coop's right. They're doing the divisional previews over there at the Quick Out podcast. Over here, we're featuring a lot of stuff that's going on in the Fantasy Alarm draft guide. And that's where it's all at for you right now. It is a living draft guide. It is continuously updated. We've got articles that are rolling out each and every day. Next week, all of my systems articles are coming out. Last week, you had Coop with all of her wide receiver breakouts and her tiers. And but today, we're going to be featuring Coop's running back questionnaire. So I'll just tease it like that. It's the RB questionnaire. It is available in the draft guide. Go to fantasyalarm.com/draft guide. You can get it on its own. It comes with the cheat sheet, and that's $26.99. Or better off, get that subscription, the All Pro subscription. You'll get a 7-day free trial just to take it for a test spin, see what it's like, enjoy that, and then you're going to use promo code Howard. That's going to take 50% off your first 6 months, and that's the draft guide and the cheat sheet and every bit of content we've got across all major sports. So it doesn't just stop and start with football. It goes through the entire way. So we'll touch on all of that here today. We'll also talk some running back handcuffs. But as always, we like to start here with the news.
We didn't get the intro in, by the way.
I was waiting. I was like waiting for Ernie to be like, yo, I got your breaking news sounder here. Did we get anything, Ern?
Me, Britt, and Sellers were listening to him last night briefly, but we couldn't decide. But we will get one in there. It's not Ern's fault. I'm going to get one turn, but we're going to get that going. Until then, we're going to have to stick with your homemade one, Howard. If you could hit us with it one more time.
I do love the homemade one, though.
Britt, what are we starting with today? Did we talk Alvin? Did the Alvin Kamara stuff happen while we were on air yesterday?
We did that one. Yeah, we did that yesterday.
I'm sick of talking about Alvin Kamara. I got to be honest with you. I'm done.
Yeah, me too. And I think people, what they should do, if you want an Alvin Kamara take after this show, Dan Lust, our resident sports law expert, came in. He did a quick video on it. That's up on our YouTube, just to satiate everybody who wants an actual attorney that works with like NFL stuff. He weighed in for us. So on the Better Sports Network channel, I think it's on the Fantasy Alarm channel too. Get that checked out. It's up there. So, but not right now. Don't leave right now. Go after the show. All right.
Good plug.
Yep, you're gonna,
good plug.
You're going to have to prioritize your time.
That's right, dude.
Man, Coop's getting all the gold stars. I'm getting fined. I don't even know if I want to go into news right now.
The chat
there. That's another $20 in the jar. That's it. I'm going to keep track of what Britt's been fined here for the hour show. So far, we're at $120. So keep going there, Flynn. Keep going.
The chat has your back, though. The chat's saying Britt's the star of the show, and we're just here to be clowns and jesters. So it's not. Some people got your back, Britt. Well, let's get some news stories. What do you got for us, Britt?
Yeah. So first, I've never even heard of this guy, to be honest. But Giants linebacker Jared Davis is, quote, out long term following surgery. Do you guys think that this is going to have a big impact on the revamped Giants defense? Coop, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so this guy Jared Davis is one of those they don't cross our radar as much because they're defensive players, but he's like one of those guys where everyone think about like a fantasy football player that you thought was going to be great, but then kind of dealt with injuries, bounced around a bit. That's what he's been. He went to he was with the Lions with Howard's Jets briefly, and this offseason they were saying that he was looking pretty good, and he was out there playing right alongside Bobby Okereke. So in terms of their plans, this does change what's going on there. I mean, he was running with the ones. So this is news to me because it's kind of sad. It's kind of like Sterling Shepard, where this guy, he's flashed a little bit, but he just gets hurt year after year after year, and you never actually might get to see what he could have done, Howard, what do you think? He did play for the Jets for a little brief time there, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it was a handful of games. He didn't really play. I mean, he just, he's depth. He's linebacker depth at this point. He'll take some snaps. There was nothing like too super exciting about him. Britt, before I brought you along to the Football Diehards Dynasty IDP league that we're in, Jared Davis was on our team.
Oh.
But I've cut him since. So I mean,
his first 2 years he had 96 combined tackles and then 100 combined tackles. So at one point that's why I say that he was like what could have been, because at one point it was like, okay, 100 tackles, right? Like IDP, that's a guy. And then the injuries came along, and now, as Howard says, more of a role player. But he was looking like he could have been a guy to start for this team. So kind of stinks, man. Hopefully he comes back and gives it another go.
Well, I have to say that I'm very glad that I replaced him with Bobby Okereke on our Football Diehards IDP league. So anyway, moving on. So it has come out today that the NFL and Roger Goodell specifically played a role in leaking the John Gruden emails, and that specifically led to Dan Snyder's downfall. Howard, what are you making of this story? And is there a little bit of a conspiracy backstory to it?
I mean, I think there is a little bit of a conspiracy backstory to it. Who leaked the emails? Somebody said it was Snyder's camp trying to deflect the attention away from him. Some people said that it was the commissioner because he was looking for a way to get Dan Snyder out without looking like the bad guy, because I guess, he's obviously buddies with Dan Snyder. There's so many layers to this that it's like not just an onion, it's like a rotten onion. It's like you're peeling layer after layer. You're crying because, you're stuck listening to this nonsense. And then you get to the middle of it and it's just completely rotten at the core. I mean, it's one of those things. Listen, you know what? I'm fine with Gruden being gone. I'm fine with Dan Snyder being gone. Like, let's try and just move on from it. Obviously, a very toxic culture there in Washington. So, to be perfectly honest, I don't really care who leaked the information. Let's just get the old boys school jackasses out of the NFL already.
Yeah, I mean, we could go all day with the Dan Snyder stories. I mean, you guys check out the story of him with the trees, cutting down the trees at his place and like he cut all these trees down, got this guy fired over it, like just absolute like evil behavior, this guy, man. So we could go on and on about those, but I think Howard's right that it almost reminds me of The Wire. Did you guys ever watch The Wire?
Yeah.
Where they found out this information and then they had to reverse engineer a way to do like the wiretaps and get it out there. And unfortunately for Gruden, but Gruden did send those emails. The way they reversed engineered it was by saying these emails are out, and then they're like, oh, let's follow this string. Oh, look at the hits on the end of the string. It's a huge jerk that we don't want part of the league anymore. And that's Dan Snyder. So they might have set it up that way, but I don't care. At the end of the day, if that's what you have to do to catch the really bad guys, sometimes you got to do that. So I'm on board with that. And last, before we go on to another topic, Erndog, can you pull up that picture again, that graphic again? What is this picture of John Gruden? He looks like the Penguin in Batman. Like, what is this picture?
I'm John Gruden. I'm a racist. Well, I mean, listen, if we're gonna punctuate this whole thing, if you're gonna make a Wire reference here, then I will just say I can sum up this entire Dan Snyder conversation with one word: shit.
Dude, I love that character.
I was just gonna say that it smells eerily like Regina George and the Burn Book, but then you guys had to bring up The Wire, so I think that I've been out movied or out series.
No. That is a fetch reference. 100% fetch.
You can't sit with us.
Yeah.
You can't sit with us.
I worry about that some days. I even want
to. You have no choice. You have to sit with us.
I don't want to either.
You have to sit with us for breakfast and for lunch, Britt, and you'll be happy. You're just happy that Corey only comes for breakfast, right?
Oh my God. All right. Speaking about lunch, there is a popcorn headline here.
Yeah.
Kyle Juszczyk has, quote, been shocked by the difference of Brandon Ayuk while watching OTAs and minicamp film during meetings, saying that he looks like a, quote, different player. Do we think that Brandon Ayuk is going to dethrone Deebo Samuel's wide receiver 1 role? Coop, I'm going to go with you.
Kyle Juszczyk is shocked. I love the popcorn. We should just do popcorn headlines. They are the best, dude.
They're the best. They are.
Kyle Juszczyk thinks his teammate's good at football. All right.
Ernie, another sound effect. We're going to need some popcorn popping the next time we're doing this.
Yeah, fullback Kyle Juszczyk thinks that his teammate is good. But I will say this. John and I, hey, this is a little plug for the episode we just did. We just went through the NFC West, and with that, we go through all the lines. Vegas has Deebo Samuel set at only 725 receiving yards. A year ago, he had 1,400. They have him set at 725, and if you think that maybe that's because of injuries, I mean, maybe, but they have Brandon Ayuk set at 800, and they have George Kittle set at 725. So they're suggesting that Deebo Samuel might be the third best pass catcher on this team, and that Brandon Ayuk is set at 800. So maybe there's a little more. Maybe they set the line based on whatever Kyle Juszczyk says, but maybe there's a little truth to what he's saying. Maybe Ayuk is ready to pop off, huh?
Like popcorn.
You know what? I mean, listen, I'm not gonna speak out against it. I think that Deebo plays a very specific role in this offense, and he's not a guy who's force-fed targets, especially downfield. Ayuk is the downfield target on the regular. So could he pop? Yes, I think he could. Could he surpass Deebo as technically the guy who sees maybe more targets or has more yardage? It is definitely possible. I think the one thing that we need to know is this like real movie theater butter popcorn, or is this like fake movie theater butter popcorn. And by that, I mean, who's the quarterback throwing them the ball right now? Because I think, if we want to see Brandon Ayuk pop, I want to see a quarterback who can sling the rock downfield with some accuracy. And a Brock Purdy, I don't know, hurts when I go like this, Doc, kind of a situation. And then you've got Trey Lance, who's like throwing it that way. And then Sam Darnold, who is, our resident Ghostbuster now.
That's still that's, as far as I'm concerned, that's the number one story of the offseason. The Sam Darnold ghost in the pool house,
the haunted mansion pool house.
Yes.
Right. What do you think? Are you more likely to take Debo at ADP? He's going wide receiver 18 on Underdog right now, or would you be more likely to take Brandon Ayuk, who's going wide receiver 28? And I only know that off the top of my head because we just did that show. So before you give me any kudos there, well, I just did it.
Sure.
18 for Debo, 28 for Ayuk. Who would you be more inclined to take?
No, so I've actually, in the hot takes article that I did last season, one of my hot takes was that Ayuk was going to surpass Debo as the wide receiver 1. And by the end of the season, it happened. And I'm still on that train. I think that he's so good at separating. He's almost as good at yards after the catch as Debo is. And if he gets targeted more, that's just more icing on the cake. Like, I think that this guy is legit. He's the real deal. Debo himself said that nobody could tackle him in a phone booth. I mean, which is
an awesome
great.
line.
Yes, it is an awesome line.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
What's he know about phone booths? Where are phone booths? Are there?
I will tell you, anymore? There is one left, and it's marked as a historical site within walking distance of my house.
If you ever go to
workable,
it is workable. Yeah, you can actually make calls.
If you ever
that is one of the only ones left in America.
If you ever go to London, they still have like a few of the red ones, and there's like in front of everyone, there's a line of like chicks waiting to take pictures inside of it. Like
we refer to them as women.
Sorry, I apologize.
Yeah.
There are a line
we don't want you canceled already.
There are a line of Instagram influencers looking to take pictures in front of phone booths. Okay, so I apologize.
In front of the phone booth.
Dare you, Coop?
Oh, the phone booth. All right, I'll tell you what, before we keep going with the news, because I'm sure that we've got some more, I do want to, I'm going to bring all of this together. I'm going to bring The Wire together, and I'm going to bring Ghostbusters together. So here's the question. Here's what we're doing, guys. We're giving away. Let me make sure that I've got this 100% correct. We are giving away a spot, a free entry into the RT Sports Best Ball Championship giveaway. All right, one free entry to the RT Sports Best Ball Championship. You can play for a grand prize of $25,000 and enjoy that draft and get your best possible lineup each week because it's best ball. And there are only 10-team best balls also. Keep in mind, 10-team, and you only start 2 wide receivers, so it's a little bit more of a abbreviated lineup than what you're used to. But it's $20 entry, and here you go. I will say this. There is a character from The Wire, the actor, who was also in the movie Ghostbusters, the remake of Ghostbusters with Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy. If you can tell me the character's name on The Wire, who was also in the 2016 version of Ghostbusters.
All right, boom, chat. All right, chat. Get on it.
There.
The winner.
First person into the chat with that answer, that they win the $20 prize.
Wow. And by the way, $20, it's a $20 prize, but the winner of that tournament gets like $25,000.
25 grand. Yeah.
So
it's
free,
a shot.
$25.
Oh,
boom! Wendy! Yeah, my girl.
Da, 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 da,
oh, Omar with the scar.
Omar with the scar. Yep.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. He did pass away. Absolutely. He was in the Ghostbusters movie. He played, where was it? Agent Hawkins.
Okay. So yeah, Michael Kenneth Williams. Michael Kenneth Williams. Rest in peace. All right, Wendy. Wendy representing the family in the RT Sports Best Ball Championship, bringing $25,000 home. Wendy, you've been on fire lately. She came on your show, right? The Serious show. I saw
she was on the Serious show. Absolutely. The Battle of the Sexes best ball tournament. If you guys want to do that, follow at Wendy Early. That's WENDIEARLEY. And her and Michael Salvon are actually running this this Battle of the Sexes, boys versus girls, in a best ball tournament championship. So congratulations, Wendy. There you see it right there in the chat. Just email contests@bettersportsnetwork.com. All right, let's get back to the news.
Scamp said Apollo Creed. Good try, Scamp. Good day. You got to shoot your shot, man.
You know what? He's a cat. I don't expect him to know all movie trivia. Okay.
What was Michael B. Jordan's name in the Wire? What was his character's name?
Oh my goodness! I remember. You got to remember because they said it over and over. Where's so and so? What's in it? Oh, they said it like 100 times on the show. Where's Wallace? It was Wallace, right? Where's Wallace? String. Where's Wallace? That was Michael B. Jordan. I think it was Wallace. Wasn't Michael B. Jordan Wallace?
I don't know. Look him up.
Yeah, because he kept saying, "Where's Wallace? String. Where he at?"
Oh, yeah, George says it's Wallace also. All right. Well, good job, Coop. You win absolutely nothing, not even my respect. So.
Hooray. Exactly what I already had.
Can he win my fine?
But I did win, though, right?
See, now you just got fined $50 for thinking that you're so cool with the shades. So Britt's still in the hole, 120. Coop now owes 50 to the pizza party.
This show is costing me money. This show is costing us money, Britt. Why do we even do this show?
Because we are devoted to all of our loyal followers and fans.
That's right.
There it is. There it is. Company girl, do we have any more news that we want to jump into?
So there is one. The NFL, or the coaches, execs, and scouts in particular, ranked their top cornerbacks, with Pat Surtain topping the list. Howard, does that kind of get in your craw that Sauce Gardner isn't at the top?
No. I'm okay with that. With Sauce Gardner. I'll tell you what it is about these high level cornerbacks and these great cover corners. If you're sitting there at the top, eventually teams just stop throwing in your direction. And that actually devalues you as a player, right? Because all of a sudden it's like, yes, you get signed and you're there, and yeah, you can shut down like one side, but all of a sudden your stats look like garbage. You have no passes defended. You're not making any tackles or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, when it comes time to negotiate your contract and they start looking at your list of stats, they're like, nah, they're average corner numbers. In that realm. That's what happened to what was it? Oh, Ndambi Asamoah.
Ndambi Asamoah is the exact player I was thinking of, Howard. That's so funny. You think of that's the exact guy, right?
He just stopped throwing in his direction, and it was like, well, what good is he now?
Yeah. I was waiting. I was like, that's the dude. Ndambi Asamoah was a perfect example because it was him and Revis to a certain degree as well. But Revis, at least, he would find a way to trick people into throwing him interceptions versus just being a complete shutdown. So it is true. And I guess that list is pretty good. I will say
good. That list is fantastic.
It actually is fantastic. Although I don't know if Trayvon Diggs, man, yeah.
Stop it.
But I would say that maybe Stephon Gilmore might be slightly better on his own team. I think that Gilmore, the former defensive player of the year, came back. He was great last year. And I think that he's more of like your true lockdown. So it's not that I think that Diggs is good, but I think that maybe Gilmore might have needed to be on there. Also, I guess it's hard to pick people to take off the list, but I feel like James Bradbury kind of deserves a spot somewhere on there. That's all I have for nitpicking. Again, it is a very good list, so I have to nitpick a little bit, but I don't know.
Listen, the honorable mentions right here. They're fantastic too. Xavier Howard, J.C. Horn, Tariq Woolen, Tre'Davious White, L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah, no, that's the thing with if you were gonna do like one of those like fan ones based on interceptions and stuff, then Tariq Woolen would be on there. But I think they with these execs and scouts, they are going for the true guys that are lockdown. I love Marshawn Lattimore, except when he plays Mike Evans, because I like Mike Evans more, and they always get in a fist fight like every time.
Well, Mike Evans ain't getting the ball now because Baker Mayfield sucks at football. Shout out to Dusty in there. Diggs gets burnt like he's covered in hot fish.
He improved a lot last season. He improved a lot, and he doesn't get his
He
flowers
did.
for improving.
He
His
did.
son
You're right.
kills
He
me.
did
I
improve.
love his kid. His kid is the best.
Aiden is a national treasure.
Yes.
And I want nothing more than to just hug him and like yell, "Believe in yourself" at the same time as Aiden Diggs.
Well, enough cowboy. Play the cowboy sounder.
How about them Cowboys?
How about them Cowboys? Enough Cowboys. Let's do some RB questionnaire.
Coop's like, oh, pay attention to me. I wrote an article in the draft guide. It's called RB questionnaire. All right, Coop, there you go. The floor is yours. Please explain, mansplain to me and Britt what the RB questionnaire is.
You done?
No.
You guys know what it is because it's an integral part of the Fantasy Alarm draft guide. It was in there last year, right? And it's another one of these things, just like the target totem pole we did last week, where this is my opinion. These things we're going to look at here. But if you see some spots that you think should be different, great. Use that in your leagues. But here's what we do for the RB questionnaire. We look at the 5 different essential situations within football and figure out who's going to have each role. So you have first down, the guy who starts, right? You have pass down backs where some teams, of course, use different backs for just typical third downs. You have short yardage goal line. And the way I always picture this one when I'm coming up with who's going to be the guy for this is just imagine it's a 35-yard pass downfield and it's a pass interference in the end zone. And the coach can send any one player down there to punch it in. So it's not like there's, they're picking, okay, goal line, go down there. Who's going to be the guy, right? Then you have the 2-minute drill. And I separate 2-minute drill and from the pass down back because it's a separate skill set, in my opinion. Because of the way the hurry up works, you need to be able to not only know all the schemes and be able to have like 3 plays called in the huddle at once there's no substitutions, but you also need to know all the audibles. So it's not the same as just the regular pass down back, in my opinion. And then the last role, kind of looked at times, is the late lead. Who do they use to finish the game? Some teams will use one guy and other teams will bring in a backup. And that's how Isaiah Pacheco carved out that role. For those that were paying attention, he was not the starter but they were winning games bringing this guy in. And eventually he led the entire, he was one of the top backs in carries in those situations and kind of pulled that role away. So that's what we do here. I'm going to pull it up now. And kind of ask you guys what your thoughts are. But this whole thing is going to be available it might be a little tough to see, but the whole thing is going to be available in the draft guide for you guys to check out. And like the target totem pole, if you're a Fantasy Alarm member, hit me up in the Discord in Coop's Corner. If you want a blank copy of this to fill out or tinker with yourself, I'll send it over. You can check it out. So a lot of work goes into these. In order to make this, and I don't want to talk the entire time here, so I'm going to start asking you guys questions in a second. But in order to make this, I go in and I pull the stats on the last 3 minutes of the second quarter, fourth quarter, and overtime. Who is getting the targets in those situations? I pull the last 5 minutes up of games when the team is winning. Who's getting the carries in those situations? I go through and I look at who's got carries inside the 5, 10, 20. And actually look at it from last year and make my best guesses here. So and I know you've had a chance to look at this, guys. So, first, just right off the bat, is there anything that jumps out at you as far as guys that maybe you think either are listed as bell cows on here, which are the green guys, or guys that aren't listed as bell cows that you think maybe should be?
Ooh, pick me.
Britt, what do you think?
Yes, you over there.
Down the Cowboys counter again, because it's Tony Pollard.
Okay.
Last year was the most carries he's ever had in a season at just 193, and he's coming off a broken ankle. His yards per touch last year was really good, but he wasn't really utilized between the tackles. He was more of an outside runner and a pass catcher guy. And I really worry that wear and tear, being an every down back, is going to catch up to him if he's put in that role. And this is my way of saying, bring back Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah. So here's the way this chart works. And because we have the living draft guide, I updated all offseason. If Zeke were to come back, I think I would leave Tony Pollard as first down and pass down and 2-minute drill, but I would put Zeke in to the spot for short/goal line and maybe late lead as well. Britt, you think?
Yeah, absolutely. That was what Zeke did last season. So it makes total sense.
Yeah, so with that, it would actually look more like if you look at the Packers as an example, where they're on here as since they're a NFL
I'm
football
looking.
team.
It's a lot of blue and orange, my friend. A lot of blue and orange.
Quite a bit, yeah. So the Packers are right. Where are the
They're
Packers?
right in between the Lions and the
Yeah, they are.
Texans.
Yeah,
So
so
obviously alphabetically.
right. So you see how it's like it's split now. Who made this thing?
I don't know, dude.
It doesn't make any sense. So for the color,
is it by division? It's not even by division.
oh, it's alphabetical. All right, it's alphabetical by the.
It's alphabetical by the city.
But the city's
it's
not on there.
Not even listed.
Yeah, it's a bit of a deep cut article in that sense, but it's kind of cool that you noticed that's how it is. But anyway,
I love you, Coop.
Green are 3 down backs, orange are run down, blue are pass down, yellow is where we're really unsure. If Zeke comes back, then you probably have an Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon situation there. So that's all I was getting at. That's what we're getting at, dude. Yeah. So anyway, Howard, what about you? Anything that jumps at you and say, you know what, I'm not quite sure this guy is the guy now, or I'm sure you probably just spent a few minutes basking in the fact that I have Nick Chubb listed as the man across the board, right?
Well, I mean, that should just go without saying. No, actually, the first thing I noticed was that the fourth column on the Ravens is not filled in with any kind of a color. So I'm completely confused as to your opinion there.
Okay, well, that minor oversight there.
Just a little glitch. But no, actually, you know what? I'm gonna go to the Rams, actually, because the Rams, that they've got Sony Michel, they've got Kyron Williams. I know that there's Cam Akers, and I know that he and Sean McVay kissed and made up last year. But is there any concern that like, even how about late lead?
Yeah.
For the Rams, if the Rams have a late lead, don't you think they'd rather just kind of work Sony Michel and his bone-on-bone knee as opposed to risking Cam Akers?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many late leads this team's going to have, but in that case, I could see them going Sony Michel. I will say I did pull the numbers, like I said, and Cam Akers surprising. I was actually surprised by his usage, that he was the only guy that got targets in the 2-minute drill. He was on the team. He was the only guy that essentially was getting the goal line carries, but they really didn't have many late leads, so there wasn't a lot to look at there. So I'd be willing to put Sony Michel there instead of Cam Akers. But again, when you look at their odds for pretty much everything, Super Bowl, the rest of that stuff, it doesn't look too great, So, all right, let me see. When we look at this, which you can see that some of these are fairly thin, like the Rams, for instance. When you look around here at some of these thin ones, and Britt just pointed one out, the Cowboys, which of these teams, in your opinion, do you think maybe could stand to add a little bit of depth? I mean, there's a few teams that immediately, if you throw Dalvin Cook on there, he might actually just be straight green across the board. And I still think that's the opinion with the Dolphins, but Howard, is there anybody that when you're looking around, you say, man, this team could use a couple guys? The columns on the right, the two ones there, those are the rundown and pass down potential handcuffs. So that's what that column is.
I mean, as far as needing somebody else in there or wanting somebody else in there, I would say that I'd really like somebody to I had it, and there you go. Oh, you know what? Let's look at the Vikings. Let's look at Alexander Mattison, because, one of the things that we kind of noticed, obviously Dalvin Cook was the lead back there, but, the scheme itself, it kind of changed a little bit, the blocking scheme. They started doing more hybrid blocking. So they did man blocking, power blocking, along with some outside zone stuff. And I feel like they kind of want to do a little bit more of the power blocking, and that doesn't really jibe well with Alexander Mattison and his skill set. And I also think that we could be looking at Ty Chandler being a little bit better of a pass catcher than Mattison.
Yeah, so that I really struggle with that, Howard, because everyone loves Ty Chandler, and like you look at his college stuff, it was great. When I went back and looked at it, he didn't play a single pass snap last year. Now it's so interesting because you look at Keenan Nwangwu, and he played, but that's because he's an amazing kick returner. He actually ran back multiple kicks, all pro kick returner. That's probably why he had the roster spot over Chandler. So it's crazy. I think Chandler could carve out a role there. They also have Dwayne McBride, who is just this like big Jordan Howard, Alfred Morris type bruiser back. So it might be Madison across the board in green, or it could be just as you suggest, a huge mess, man. So that is a tough one for me. Maybe next year we got to work in a different color where it's like maybe bell cow versus definitely bell cow, because yeah, man, there's some concern there.
I think above all, I think the most surprising thing, and I'll ask you on this one, Britt, just how much green there is across the board, right? And how many guys, how many teams that we're looking at. I mean, you got the Titans, you got the Bucks, for the most part, you got the 49ers and the Steelers. Like it's the same guy all the way straight across the board. And that actually kind of surprises me, a little bit, because we constantly talk about there's no bell cow, everybody's moving to that, multi-back system here. Does that surprise you at all, Britt, or am I just kind of off base?
Yeah, I think some of these teams are just green by necessity, like the Bucks, for example, because behind Rachaad White, they've got Chase Edmonds and Keyshawn Vaughn, and those two guys aren't doing anything. So it just kind of, Rachaad White might not be the bell cow in the sense, but they have no other option. Other teams, the Rams kind of surprised me that it's Cam Akers across the board. Sony Michel did well when Akers went down and with all his issues, and they signed him, they brought him back. So I can see him having a much bigger role there. The Patriots, as much as we like Ramondre, I think that Pierre Strong works in a little bit more than what we're thinking. I don't think that it's going to be Ramondre the entire way through.
Montgomery.
Oh my God. Bingo card. Bingo card.
You're
fined again, Coop. You were fined.
I knew I was going to get fined.
That's a $500 fine.
You know what's funny though is that Howard actually told me on a previous show that I would be fined if I said Ty Montgomery's name, but it has to be said. It has to be said because
$500 fine.
All right, well, I'm in the lead then. Last year, Ty Montgomery in the first game played 20 snaps at running back, got 4 targets. It looked like he might have been in that role. I'm sorry, but he was in the role. He was playing that. So, Ty Montgomery, Pierre Strong, it's there. And here's the thing about the green on the board is that last year I did this and I talked to John and Pemba about it. We kind of went back and forth on what we were going to do. And I have it from last year. And there was a little bit less green, but it turned out that we thought right here, we look at the Raiders, we thought that Josh McDaniel was going to split that backfield. He didn't. We thought that Bill Belichick was going to split this Patriots backfield. He didn't. So we had less green last year. And then as the season panned out, it turned that we should have had more green. Right. So kind of interesting how that goes, and of course, when you have green across the board, that doesn't mean they're going to play 90% of snaps. No one does that. It just means that they're the preferred back for those situations. And a lot of them are fairly high leverage situations. Even the late lead, quote unquote, one is such an important fantasy football situation. If you think about what happened to the Chargers last year against the Jags in the playoffs, all they had to do was run the football and they couldn't do it. And Austin Eckler is a guy that has never had 1,000-yard rushing season. So for me, that's a team where I look at and I'm like, putting Eckler there and then figuring out who even is the next best guy between Joshua Kelly, Isaiah Spiller, Larry Roundtree, and Howard, I know that you have a little bit of a take there as far as Kellen Moore and who he's worked with in the past, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the Chargers bring somebody in that's at least a little bit of a bruiser,
Yeah, well, I think we're going to end up seeing that. Zeke's either going back to Dallas because Jerry's going to probably overpay him or at least just offer him because he loves him, or Kellen Moore is going to scoop him up and he's going to bring him to the Chargers because he needs that guy. I'm not going to, love on Joshua Kelly. I don't want to crap on him too much because I know his mom watches the show, but I'm just going to say that, I wouldn't trust Joshua Kelly as my, short yardage back on the regular. So, I mean, I think Kellen Moore will probably end up bringing in somebody to help.
Yeah, I fully agree on that. So yeah, I mean, that's what we got going on. This is up right, or if it's not up now, it will be up today. I'm sure Howard will make sure of that if it's not up just yet.
Oh, it's up right now. I'm looking at it right here on the site.
Bingo. And what I did is I put this all up here, explained how it all works, just as I did just such an amazingly eloquent job of explaining how it's all sorted and why everything is what. But there's also a write-up for every single team at the bottom in a note section. I wrote 2 to 3 sentences. If sometimes the sentence is just one sentence for certain teams, but on what I think about the backfield, why I think this is how it pans out. And if you think I'm wrong, hit me up on Twitter at Coupe Fiasco or here in the chat, and we'll talk about it. Because like I said, I'm going to be updating this all off season. If you have new information, news, somebody gets hurt, send that to me. We'll get this updated. We're going to beat everybody in fantasy football because we have tools like this in the draft guide and other people don't because they're bad at this.
Yeah, between this and the target totem pole, absolutely. I think these are two of the best things because you're offering up. And again, if you're in the Fantasy Alarm Discord and you hit Coop up, to just get a copy of the spreadsheet just so that you can kind of play around with it on your own. Yes, you get the draft guide and you can look at it. And it's not really if you're printing the page out, you can't make your own edits or you're going to have to like cross a bunch of things off and stuff like that. So hit Coop up in the chat and get a copy of that spreadsheet, or not in the chat, in the Discord. That way we know you're a subscriber. You can sneak in there. And
Hope was in there, asked me for it. A couple people asked me for the last one. And that's the thing is that like a lot of Fantasy Alarm members are sharp enough that you probably want to do it yourself. And I do it every single year. I've been doing it for years now. And it really helps you figure out, like, take what you're actually thinking here and put it on paper so that you can make your decisions, right? So, yeah.
All right. Well, again, as Coop said, check it out. Across the bottom, you'll see a ticker, and that'll tell you fantasyalarm.com/draft guide. You can get yourself a copy of that today. Folks, play the real-time fantasy sports football best ball championships. Remember, the spot that Wendy Early just won because she's so smart and she knew that it was Omar? Yes. You can join her and play in the real-time sports fantasy football best ball championships. You're competing for a grand prize of $25,000 with only a $20 entry fee. So enjoy the draft and get your best possible lineup each week automatically. And remember, there are live drafts happening every single night, so you can choose one that fits your schedule. Get our exclusive offer of 100% deposit match up to $200 for first-time users. Just go to rtsports.com/alarm. Use that promo code ALARM23. Again, 100% deposit match up to $200 if you go to rtsports.com/alarm and use that promo code ALARM23. And as always, please play responsibly. And if you or somebody else that you know needs a little help here, call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. Well, shout out to McGonigal and to Brendan Booth, both sitting there in the chat, who alerted me to the fact that I was OTC in the Scott Fish Bowl. And you know what? I sneakily made my pick, guys.
Live pick. Woo!
Sneaky live pick there. And I grabbed, I grabbed Kenneth Gainwell. I needed to round out my, 17th round Kenneth Gainwell.
Sellers is going to be so proud of you.
17th round, man. Can't beat 17th round.
Stop. You guys.
Sellers has been banging the Kenneth Gainwell drum like incessantly. So I really hope that he's watching right now. I hope that he hasn't lost service on his route because he is going to be so happy that you took Gainwell.
Yeah.
Yes, while staring at the RB chart, that Kenneth Gainwell isn't even on there.
He's on there. He's in the handcuff area. But that said, we don't know. We don't know if DeAndre Swift is going to earn that role. He's already been with the team, Gainwell. And man, I'll tell you what, this statistically, maybe the numbers aren't there for fantasy so far, but eye test wise, go back and watch some of those plays. Now, this guy is scoring. He's scoring those touchdowns despite not really getting the goal line work. He's scoring from 10, 20 yards out, man. Like Kenneth Gainwell, he can sneak around out there. So very impressive player.
There's Sellers' comment right there. Gainwell is his late round steal in every best ball draft. So
that's the dude.
You can't shut up about him.
All right, let's stick with some running back talk here. And Coop, you wanted to dive into handcuffs, and listen, I think handcuff is extremely important, and it's not just reserved for running backs. For example, I took Tua and I handcuffed him to Mike White. That's something that I know that I've got to do. It's normally just associated with running backs, but listen, you got there are definitely a bunch of different areas that you want to go. So before we start going with your Q&A, you've got your own little questionnaire, your handcuff questionnaire here, Coop. In our show, Doc, I will ask: are you handcuffers? Or do you find that it's not something that you like to do when you're in drafts? I'll start with Britt.
I like to steal other people's handcuffs because I'm a big meanie.
That is how you that is how you shoot for the moon, right? Like that's how you get for the best of both worlds. Though if one of your running backs goes down, now you got nothing. Yeah, I personally
witchy woman right now.
That's right, too. Just a little witchy. I like handcuff pluses if I'm going to take them in normal leagues, and what by that I mean it's a guy that I can start in my lineup. If the starter gets hurt, now he becomes exponentially better. But as he has enough standalone value that at least during a bye week, I can say, all right, get in there. He's not going to get me a 0. So I like those guys. But in bigger formats, like you just talked about, Scott Fish, 22 rounds, I'm definitely trying, especially the high leverage ones. In that, I'll take pure handcuffs. I'll take whatever. And then, with Superflex, quarterback handcuff is of course a thing, especially for some of the mobile guys. So yeah, it all depends on the format. But in my typical hometown league, if it's like, 12 teams and 5 or 6 bench spots, I'm not usually taking just like pure, the starter needs to get hurt handcuffs. That's just my philosophy on it.
All right. Shout out to Wendy, who is who's now acting like a saucy little minx, talking about handcuffs there. So, Wendy,
she's the star.
All right, well, Coop, let's go with your Q&A here, please. You've got the floor, my brother. What do you got?
All right. So I want to ask you first about the handcuff pluses, because that's what I just brought up. Those are the ones I like best. Those are my favorite. So give me a guy that you are willing to draft where they don't have to be your RB2, but somebody that you can start during a bye week, start during injuries. But if the starter gets hurt, now we're talking maybe you do have an RB1 or an RB2. So, Britt, you first on this one. Who's somebody you think they could have some standalone value and maybe shoot the moon with an injury?
So I don't necessarily agree that he's a handcuff, but on your chart, he is colored in blue. So I went with Antonio Gibson, and it probably sounds like a broken record because I've been going on and on and on about Antonio Gibson this entire offseason, but his ceiling as a pass catcher is so incredibly high, and we still know that he can run. People want to talk about him being inefficient. Well, look at Brian Robinson. He's not exactly the most efficient back out there. And if they're already splitting carries, if something happens to Robinson and Gibson gets the pass work and the rushing work, his ceiling is insane.
Yeah, I like Gibson already as is. Like you said, standalone. I think he could be RB2, honestly, in full PPR if he's got that role, because Brian Robinson didn't really flash the pass catching chops. Howard, what about you? You got a handcuff?
I mean, if you're looking for somebody who's got standalone value who could get an even bigger boost, I mean, you got to go with Jerick McKinnon of the Chiefs.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of, it's low hanging fruit. It's not exciting or anything. There's no big sleeper here, but Isaiah Pacheco is coming off of hand and shoulder surgery. They're saying that he's not ready to come back and start camp. Sure, you got CEH, who's like this, tiny little bowling ball who kind of rolls his way through. But, the Chiefs, they love the run and gun offense. They love the pass catching running backs. And McKinnon is a guy who is going to be able to continue his role at least until, I don't know. I mean, he's 82 years old right now. So he's got a little time left.
He is like the quintessential guy that what could have been, because he had the best combine like I've ever seen for a running back. Dude, he did bench press 32 times. That would have been more than any of the tight ends this year. But yeah, and that's a sharp pick, because when I look at the ADP for him, he's going earlier in stuff like the FFPC than you might think. So yeah, that's a good one. For me, somebody pointed out in the chat, Dustin there said I would say Devin Singletary, but he might just be the starter. I think that maybe a little rich. I think Dameon Pierce, he's definitely the starter in the early down back, but I love that they brought this guy in for pass downs. I've said it before on the show, Dameon Pierce graded outside the top 120 in Pro Football Focus. Bobby Slowick, the OC, used to work for Pro Football Focus. So Devin Singletary guy I like a lot. And I think if the starter gets hurt, I mean, he's the guy. So pretty easy one there. What about like pure handcuffs? And when I say pure handcuffs, I mean you can't trust them, but if the starter gets hurt, they go straight to the moon. And the thing is, some of these pure handcuffs might actually, like Devin Singletary, he's still going to be on the Texans if Dameon Pierce gets hurt. So how high can his ceiling be? But who are some guys that you can't start them probably, but if the starter goes down, they're going to be the number one waiver ad, Howard? What do you got?
Tyler Algier.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Bijan was drafted. He's coming in. He's going to be the number one. Algier might get some short yardage work and, some complimentary work just to kind of spell Bijan and make sure that he's not overworked. But yeah, if Bijan goes down, we all saw what Tyler Algier did in this offense last season. So give me him.
I mean,
he's one of the ones that I like to steal from other people.
Yeah. I've seen you do it. I've seen you do it. I've seen you take it. You take a lot of Algier. You probably have more Algier than Bijan, right?
Yeah. Just the way that the draft boards have fallen. Yeah.
I hope I'm not drafted near you in the staff mock draft tonight.
No, I'm the 101 in the stack.
All right, good. Tonight, I'm the 12. I'm on the total opposite end of you. All right, good.
Did you engineer that on purpose?
Did everybody join? Did everybody join the mock, Howard?
Yeah. The last straggler finally signed into the draft.
Sorry about that.
That you know what? For reminding me on that, you just got to find another $50.
I'm in there. I'm logged in, bro. We hours in advance. Advance.
I'm telling you, you're not getting paid this month, Coop.
Oh, dude, that's how tight the ship is here, folks watching. That I log into the draft 8 hours before, and I'm still getting fined. Unbelievable, dude.
Because you were last.
Well, everybody else is just an eager beaver, I guess. What the heck? So all right, mine for this is I got to give credit actually to John Pemba for this one, because he was the one that, in talking to him, kind of convinced me that Zamir White, when you look around at what they did last year with Josh Jacobs and what they want to do, and then you look at the rest of that depth chart, and it's guys like Amir Abdullah and Brandon Bolden. Like Brandon Bolden, we know is a special team or role player type guy, and it's not going to be him. Zamir White, if anything were to happen to Josh Jacobs, there's a lot of work to be had there, and I think that he could jump right into that. So pretty appealing to me. But let's do two other ones if we have time here. Well, this is one of the ones that
do we not want to know who Britt's her pure handcuff is?
She didn't do one? I thought you did one, Britt.
I haven't talked about.
Oh, you also talked about Tyler Algier. I apologize. I
just popped in and was like, "That's who I love to steal."
Okay.
You just don't even listen anymore, Coop.
I've listened to everything Britt says, and I would love to hear who your handcuff is, your pure handcuff. Britt.
Thank you, Coop. Thank you for this opportunity.
No problem. Absolutely. The floor is yours.
So I'm actually going to go with Jaylen Warren. People are already kind of talking about him being better than Najee Harris due to his yards per carry. But I don't see Matt Canada doing much with him unless Najee gets hurt. We know that Najee's that bell cow. They brought in a couple of extra offensive linemen. And Jaylen Warren's yards per carry is kind of inflated because he only got 77 carries last season. But that said, if something happens to Najee, they do not have a lot of depth behind them. And I think that he could go off and be a really sneaky guy.
Yeah, I was surprised with Warren because I wanted to actually have him as a handcuff plus type guy or in the pass down role, but I pulled up the numbers on that, and in the those 2-minute drill situations, Najee got 11 targets and Jaylen Warren had 0. So that's what makes him a pure handcuff, is that I think they're doing a 1A, 1B, where if 1A goes down, 1B gets the full job, which honestly has a higher upside that way than being like a split backfield where somebody else gets that gig. So I'm liking that one. All right, we got time for one more. QB handcuffs are boring because Howard already said Mike White. We know the names. It's whatever backups are behind mobile quarterbacks. So, but this one's interesting in that I call this the double handcuff. It's a wide receiver or tight end, it's a pass catcher where if either of the top 2 pass catchers on a team go down, now this player jumps into the spotlight. And a lot of these guys at times have standalone value of their own, but if either or guy gets hurt. So I'll give an example. Last year with the Chargers, anytime either Keenan Allen or Mike Williams was hurt, Josh Palmer became a startable player. And it didn't matter which player got hurt. So for you guys, and Britt, I'll go to you first because I rudely forgot to include you last time. Is there a player where you think, okay, if either of the top 2 dogs goes down, this guy is going to be valuable right away in fantasy?
Yeah, I hate banking on rookies, but for this question in particular, I'm super high on Marvin Mims on the Broncos. I know that Howard's really high on Cortland Sutton, so put your earmuffs on. But I think Marvin Mims offers the same skill set, but maybe even a little bit better. He has 4.38 speed, over 1,000 yards in 13 games last season on a really bad team. And his vertical ability is just absolutely crazy. I don't think that Cortland Sutton has really been the same since his ACL injury, and Mims might outright take the job, let alone just act as a handcuff.
That's a $250 fine.
I told you, put your earmuffs on.
I thought you could have just got away with saying if Cortland Sutton gets injured. Like you could have got away with that, but you went full dagger on that one, huh?
You know what? It's already in the article in the draft guide.
Do you know how I'm gonna pay it back? I'm gonna pay it back this way here. First of all, my pick is from Tommy's got that get in the game, Quentin Johnston, because that was actually your thing there. But Britt, you might want to like hold on to the arms of the chair there for a second here. All right, and everybody get ready to erupt and laugh in the room. DeAndre Hopkins is now minus 300 to go to the Tennessee Titans. He was at plus 500 yesterday.
No. Minus 300?
Minus 300 on DraftKings right now. DeAndre Hopkins to go to the Tennessee Titans. Look at Britt. Look at like I ran over her puppy.
I'm going to need a minute here.
Oh, we got her on the big screen now. I can see her tears. Wait. Let me get a cup here so I can catch your tears in here, please.
Dude, my Chig, again, I'm getting hit with the shrapnel because my boy Chig is getting hit on this one. Pretty rude.
I know. You know what? I'm all in on Chig also, but
I know. All right. Anyway, I don't know how to put that back, so we're going vertical. I messed it up, and only Ernie knows how to fix it. And we also have like 10 seconds left.
We have like 15 seconds. So you know what? We're going to continue this discussion tomorrow here on Alarm Fantasy Football. For the weepy Britt Flynn, for Andrew Cooper, for the two of them who just got fined a whole lot of money, I'm Howard Bender. This has been Alarm Fantasy Football, and we will catch you next